everybody. I pray you had a wonderful week. So this week, would you look at that? Look how beautiful that turned out. So I started with 2 magnolia bulb lengths and I put those together to make a hollow form. And that method is really awesome for those of you who don't have hollowing tools. And you get a nice hollow form out of 2 bulb lengths. So then I did a last minute live. I'm sorry everybody that you missed it. Not everybody, but a lot of you missed it. I didn't post it. I didn't, announce it or anything. It was kind of one of those things where I was just trying to get my feet wet in the whole live process because I wasn't quite sure how to work all that from the technical standpoint. Plus doing a live is quite nerve-wracking. So, but you can go back and watch it. It is on my videos list. What I used for the pouring was this Arteza pouring acrylic paint. So you don't have to add anything to them to get them to move and pour. As you've seen in the video, it poured just fine. Matter of fact, I probably used more paint than I needed, but being it was my first pour on a vessel like this, it was, it was just, let's see what happens. I got plenty of paint to do multiple pours. This is also sold in the UK, so you UK folks can order this as well. I'll put the link for both US orders and UK orders in the description below. The other colors that I used were these iridescent colors. Let me turn that around. These iridescent colors, they are absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to do some accenting on some bowls. Gosh, this just turned out way better than I expected. When I first let the paint dry on it, I didn't see a lot of these colors. I mean, of course the pink and everything all stood out, and I was kind of going for a galaxy kind of look. So these other colors just, wow, as soon as I put the Total Boat 2-to-1 resin on it, it just popped, and it really gives it some really nice depth as well. The bottom is a sticker. It's not a coin. I purchased stickers from Vistaprint.com. I'll put the link in the description below so you guys can check out that website. So far they have been the least expensive that I have researched for stickers. So I just stick a sticker on there, and for resin projects when I'm coating them, this works really well. Then my logo with all of its fanciness can be on there. The rim is Total Boat 2-to-1 resin. I originally made a smaller one in like a pinkish to kind of match this here, and it was just too small for this vessel. It just didn't look right. So Doug encouraged me to make a larger one. He said, go big or go home. So I decided to make a bigger one, and man, I don't regret that decision. So I appreciate that, Doug, for helping me out. You always need a good friend that has a artistic eye and to encourage you to kind of go for something. So I appreciate that. That rim is gorgeous. It just matched perfectly with these greens and everything that's going in it. But boy, does that resin make that pop. I am so thrilled with the outcome, and yeah. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoy watching how it was made, how I put this all together, and yeah. Thank you for watching my videos. I pray y'all have a wonderful weekend. Take care. God bless. I forgot to mention something really unique about what happened to this while paint was sitting and drying in the house. A fly snuck in and decided to make little trail marks all over it. At first I was really upset about it, and then after I got to looking at it, I was like, that's really cool though. So yeah, good old fly decided to land in it and make its tracks. Here are my 2 magnolia bulb lengths. I rough cut these back in March when I first received the wood, so it was cut green, and I set them aside to dry. I sealed them up with just some the regular wood glue with it watered down a bit because I don't have any anchor seal. Both of these bowls measure about 3/4 inch thickness from what I started with, which was great because it gave me an opportunity to kind of shape them a little bit more on the outside without having to compromise and make it look just like 2 bulb lengths stuck together. I didn't cut down the inside and make it pretty or sand it or anything because my original idea was to have a really small opening in my hollow form. Right now I'm just cleaning off the edges, making sure they're good and flat, and thin of each piece, and then making a little, I guess like you would for a lidded box or something, so they'll fit together when I glue them together. As I was making this, I was thinking about all the pros and cons of this particular method, making hollow forms. I'll start with the good. The good is if you don't have hollowing equipment. Clearly that's the number one noticeable thing right off the bat. If you don't have hollowing equipment, or you do, but you cannot make, your hollowing equipment does not allow you to make larger hollow forms with small openings or whatnot. Whatever the case may be, this is a way for those of you who don't have hollowing equipment. Another pro about this method is if you're turning a lot of bowls, and say you feel like you're just getting into a rut, or you're just tired of turning bowls and you have some bowl blanks that you need to get off your shelf, this is a great way to kind of get out of the rut, or get out of that feeling like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it helps you kind of get your revive your spunk for new things. At least that's how I feel about it. It makes you feel like, oh wow, a new method. You feel accomplished, you feel like you learned something new, you did something new, and that's always positive when it comes to creating. And of course, there's many, many more positives that a lot of you may see, or this particular method is a positive for you because of certain circumstances or what have you. So the negative that I was thinking as I was turning this, of course I'm going to paint mine, and I did this with the intentions of doing a paint pour over top of it. But I thought, well, what if I wasn't going to do a paint pour over top of it? I'm going to have this seam. Now that can be taken care of in a million and one ways, and then some. So I thought, well, if this was going to be all wood and I was not going to paint it, I would probably either put a totally different piece of wood in there. You could also fill it with turquoise powder, resin, copper wire. Oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless. You can do texturizing around the area. You can change where your shape actually starts to take form or go a different direction at that seam. Man, there's so many things that you can do, and I just encourage you to not allow the limitations of this method to keep you from at least trying, because it can be a real stretcher of your imagination and help you to kind of just exercise and use some of the stuff that you might have laying around in the shop to accentuate it. You can drill holes in each side and make it look like you laced the whole two pieces together, which I think would be really cool too. I apologize, my camera battery went dead when I went to go sand my piece. I sanded to 320. My thought process was that I wanted something to paint to stick to. I didn't want the surface to be too fine where it just kind of like slid, the base coat paint would slide around or just didn't have anything to grip. Like I said, this is trial and error, my first time doing it, so I'm kind of just, throwing whatever at the wall and seeing what happens. I painted it all black first because I was doing more of a galaxy theme. You can paint it whatever base coat you want. Painting it is almost essential because it helps the paint to roll down the piece without getting caught up. And you don't want to get caught up because then you have to start, pawing at it in order to get the paint to flow. And you want that natural flow, whatever happens, happens kind of flow. The very bottom, as it was dripping down, I had some questions about that, is I just took my hand and rubbed it along the very, very bottom. And I was going to turn that off later anyway, so it didn't matter if that kind of got drippy. At this point, the hollow form is completely sealed, and I left tenons at both ends, and that cup was the perfect size for that tenon, so it helped kind of keep the paint in the cup while I was pouring it in there. It was a really fun project. Go check out my live if you haven't seen it already, where I did this live. This is just a sped up version of that live video. It was real fun. Arteza Pouring Paints makes it very, very easy, and I don't have to buy any extra products or anything to get their paints to flow because these are made for this particular style of painting, which is just pouring paint in a cup. How easy is that? Anyways, I have 2 links in my description below. Like I said in the beginning, make sure you click those links if you're interested in purchasing it. That will really help me out. Like I said in the beginning, I had originally made a smaller pink resin cast to make for the opening, and Doug encouraged me to make it bigger. He felt that it would look bigger. I felt that it would look bigger. Thankfully, he encouraged me just to cast another one. So this is the casting process of the rim that's on it now. I used activated charcoal for my black because it's like a matte black. I also used the interference powders. Yes, I always forget the name. The interference blue and interference red and interference blue, along with deep sea green. I'll put the link to in the description below for all of the colors that I used in this piece. Since I decided mid-project to change the size of the rim, I had to hollow, or concave I should say, the rim around my hollow form, so that way my hollow form would sit up into the rim that I was going to attach it to. If you choose to do acrylic pour or even use this paint, just be careful with denatured alcohol. It will lift the paint up. I'm not sure why, but I did notice when I was cleaning the rim off, I did get a little bit of paint off of the vessel. And that was okay because it didn't show it. It didn't look like it had. There was no evidence behind that had happened. It just, I can tell on my paper towel. So just use caution when cleaning with denatured alcohol. I'd probably say just use a nice damp rag and then dry it. I put a box over top of it just to keep the moths are crazy in my shop at night. They're attracted to the light, so they go nuts. And a lot of times if there are anything or if there is anything on the piece that the resin doesn't want to stick to, you'll definitely know in the first coat. I had a lot of separation, and you can see it when I wipe it down that it just, or before I wiped it down, that you can see a lot of spots where the resin just separated. And I think that is due to the dish soap that I used to get cells in my piece, and the resin just didn't want to stick to it. The second coat straightened that all out. I love using resin as a finish. Obviously, you guys can tell because I use it quite a bit, because it levels itself out, and I don't have to worry about overspraying or putting too much, resin on, because it just kind of levels itself out. So the second coat was plenty, and it worked itself out, except for a moth got inside of my box. So I didn't record sanding it down and reapplying another coat. This piece has a total of 3 coats of 2-to-1 total boat slow set. Like I said, I didn't record it because it was kind of mundane and just doing the same thing over again. And I only had to redo it because a moth decided to spread its wings all over the place, dust it like crazy, and then stick to the side of it. I am frequently asked about the brushes. I get my brushes from the Dollar Tree, and the pack that I normally purchase, there's 3 different sizes as in one pack. So I get 3 for $1, or I'll go over to their art section and see if I can't find kits of brushes. And this particular brush is from that art kit. And there's like 5 brushes in that package, so you get 5 for $1. It's not bad. You can also go to dollartree.com and order cases of their brushes. Of course, you have to buy them a case at a time, and I think the 3-pack comes 36 pieces in a box, which isn't a bad deal. I just toss them because they are cheap. The denatured alcohol just causes them to fall all apart, and it's not worth it. So anyways, that is that. Put some fast set resin on the bottom of my sticker and let it cure, and there you go, all finished. I pray you'll have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.